Welcome back to GH Spoilers channel. Today we will learn about a deeply emotional and powerful storyline currently unfolding on ABC's General Hospital, focusing on Jason Morgan and his son Danny Morgan. Recent events have pushed Jason into a critical reflection on fatherhood, responsibility, and the delicate balance between his dangerous life and the needs of his family. The catalyst for this dramatic shift comes from a heated confrontation with Dante Falconeri, stemming from a tragic incident involving their sons Rocco and Danny. The confrontation between Dante and Jason was intense and emotionally charged. Dante, devastated by the near-fatal alcohol poisoning of his son Rocco, fiercely confronted Jason. He blamed Jason for failing to guide and properly discipline Danny, accusing Jason of poor parenting that ultimately led Danny to encourage Rocco into drinking alcohol. Dante's frustration boiled over into anger as he criticized Jason harshly, pointing out how close Rocco had come to death due to Danny's reckless behavior. Initially, Jason strongly defended his son, trying to shield Danny from blame and fiercely arguing against Dante's accusations. However, beneath Jason's defensive exterior was a gnawing uncertainty, as he knew that Danny had indeed been acting increasingly rebellious in recent months. As tensions escalated, Jason found himself forced to reconsider his approach to parenting. After his confrontation with Dante, Jason decided he needed to sit down with Danny and discuss his behavior seriously. He realized that Danny had become increasingly difficult to manage, engaging in reckless activities and exhibiting behaviors indicative of deeper emotional issues. Jason, hoping to get through to Danny and address these troubling patterns, met with his son in a deeply emotional and difficult conversation. In their heart-to-heart, Jason confronted Danny directly, expressing disappointment in his recent actions. He emphasized the importance of education, responsibility, and making the right choices. Jason firmly told Danny that he expected better behavior and more dedication to his schooling. However, what Jason did not expect was Danny's equally honest and profound response. Danny, rather than passively accepting the criticism, bravely voiced his own feelings and perspectives. He accused Jason of neglecting their family and prioritizing his responsibilities to Sonny Corinthos' criminal empire and their extended circle of friends and allies over his own son. Danny told Jason bluntly that while he could protect his mob family and fellow associates, Jason had failed in his primary responsibility, caring for and protecting his real family. These words struck Jason deeply, leaving him stunned and speechless. The honesty in Danny's words rang true. Jason's heart sank as he acknowledged the painful accuracy of Danny's accusations. In this raw moment, Jason was forced to reflect on the painful reality of his recent past. Ever since Sam's tragic death a few months ago, Jason had struggled to balance the demands of his dangerous lifestyle with his responsibilities at home. The emotional toll of losing Sam had left him adrift, unable to fully support Danny through his own grieving process. Jason realized in that moment of clarity that his son's rebellious actions were a direct reflection of the neglect and distance that had developed between them. Filled with profound remorse, Jason immediately recognized that he had been unfairly harsh toward Danny. The realization that Danny's actions were in part a cry for attention and affection caused Jason's heart to break. In his guilt, Jason saw that he had wrongly shifted blame onto Danny when the true responsibility for their family's emotional well-being was squarely on his own shoulders. In a rare moment of vulnerability and honesty, Jason embraced his son, tears filling their eyes. This emotional embrace represented a turning point for both of them. Jason apologized sincerely to Danny, acknowledging that he had failed him and promising to be a better father moving forward. He committed himself to refocusing his energy, ensuring that Danny would feel prioritized, protected, and deeply loved. Danny, relieved and grateful for his father's genuine remorse, eagerly accepted Jason's promise, feeling optimistic about their family's future for the first time in months. As Jason considered ways to better provide stability for Danny, he recognized something crucial was missing from their lives: the warmth and presence of a nurturing mother figure. Since losing Sam, their household had felt incomplete, lacking the emotional support and love that only a mother could offer. Jason understood that Danny needed more than just his father's improved attention and commitment. He needed a stable family environment, a home filled with compassion, understanding, and maternal care. In his newfound clarity, Jason began contemplating the possibility of finding someone who could become a mother figure to Danny, someone who could help heal their emotional wounds and bring balance back into their lives. Jason understood deeply that this was not a decision to take lightly. It required careful thought, sensitivity, and openness to welcoming someone new into their deeply emotional and complex family dynamic. But Jason knew in his heart that such a decision, if made wisely and carefully, could transform both his and Danny's lives for the better. While Jason struggled with the idea of introducing a mother figure to Danny's life, he also wrestled internally with the risks involved. Opening their hearts to someone new could potentially bring further complications and challenges, especially considering Jason's dangerous lifestyle. Yet, despite his concerns, Jason knew that taking this emotional risk was necessary if he wanted to provide Danny with a stable and loving home. It was clear to him now that his son's emotional well-being must take precedence over everything else. Jason quietly began contemplating who in his life could offer the kind of emotional support and genuine love that Danny needed. He knew the woman he chose needed to be compassionate, understanding, strong, and accepting of the risks that came with Jason's life. It was important that she could also understand Danny's complex emotional needs, especially as he continued to process the loss of his mother. Jason found himself carefully reflecting on the women around him, who among them could be a genuine and supportive presence, not only for Danny but also for him. Throughout this process, Jason was careful and thoughtful, not wanting to rush any decisions. He understood the gravity of bringing someone new into their family, knowing how critical it was for Danny to feel genuinely accepted and cared for. In his reflections, Jason recognized the profound transformation he himself needed to undergo, acknowledging the necessity of opening his heart again after losing Sam. For Jason, the idea of sharing his life and his family once more with someone new was difficult, even frightening, but his determination to prioritize Danny's emotional needs outweighed his fears. Meanwhile, Danny was beginning to feel hopeful again, seeing genuine changes in his father's behavior. Jason's increased presence at home, deeper conversations, and greater emotional availability had already started positively influencing Danny's behavior and outlook on life. The once tense relationship between father and son was gradually softening, filled with mutual understanding and newfound closeness. Danny sensed Jason's genuine commitment and sincerity, which helped rebuild his trust and optimism for the future. Moving forward, Jason understood clearly that he needed to make deliberate and thoughtful choices. He would proceed carefully, always mindful of Danny's feelings, gradually exploring the possibility of a new relationship. As he embarked on this journey, Jason would have to navigate his own emotional healing process alongside Danny's, ensuring that any decisions made were in the best interest of their family's emotional and psychological health. This significant shift in Jason's approach to family life marked a new chapter for the Morgans. The painful confrontation with Dante, combined with the emotional honesty Danny courageously offered, became catalysts for real and meaningful change. Jason's commitment to prioritizing his son's emotional needs was not only a promise, it was an essential step toward rebuilding their family and ensuring a brighter, more stable future. Next, we will dive deep into the heart-wrenching drama surrounding Alexis Davis and her desperate struggle to save her daughter, Christina Corinthos, from a spiraling path of self-destruction and a potential lifetime behind bars. This unfolding saga in Port Charles has gripped viewers with its emotional intensity, and we're here to unpack every layer of this complex family crisis, explore the moral dilemmas at play, and speculate on what might lie ahead for Christina and those caught in her storm. A mother sets desperate decision. In a decision that no parent ever wants to face, Alexis Davis recently arrived at the gut-wrenching realization that the only way to protect Christina from her own dangerous impulses and a future of incarceration was to consider having her involuntarily committed to a psychiatric facility. Weeks ago, Alexis stumbled upon a chilling truth. Christina had taken a dark and reckless step by tampering with the brake lines of a car, an act of sabotage that led to a devastating crash. While Christina's intended target was Ava Jerome, whom she holds responsible for a cascade of personal tragedies, the car she sabotaged belonged to Rick Lansing, Molly Lansing Davis's father. The near-fatal accident was a horrifying miscalculation, underscoring just how far Christina's obsession with vengeance has pushed her. This wasn't just a mistake, it was a deliberate act born from a mind consumed by grief and rage. Since the tragic accident last summer, when Christina fell from a window at the Quartermain estate and lost the baby she was carrying as a surrogate for Molly, her world has been colored by blame and bitterness. Ava, in Christina's eyes, is the root of all her suffering, from the fall itself to ongoing custody battles over her younger sister and a litany of other perceived wrongs. Instead of seeking solace or professional help to process her trauma, Christina has allowed her pain to fester, transforming her into someone unrecognizable to her loved ones. Her fixation on Ava has grown into a dangerous vendetta, and tampering with the brakes marked a terrifying escalation. The fact that she targeted the wrong vehicle and nearly killed a family member only deepens the tragedy. If the full extent of her actions comes to light, legal experts predict Christina could face 3 counts of attempted murder, carrying a potential sentence of at least 2 decades in prison. For Alexis, the stakes couldn't be higher as she grapples with the unbearable choice between her daughter's freedom and her mental well-being. A mind unraveling. Christina's downward spiral has been a slow, painful descent for everyone around her to witness. Once a vibrant and determined young woman, she now seems trapped in a cycle of anger and despair, unable to break free from the shadows of her past. The loss of the baby she carried for Molly, a child who represented hope and a bond with her sister, has left an indelible scar on her psyche. That tragic fall, which she attributes entirely to Ava's influence, has become the lens through which she views every misfortune. Beyond the accident, Christina has pointed fingers at Ava for complicating her family dynamics, particularly in the contentious custody disputes involving her younger sibling. She's even begun to weave elaborate narratives, blaming Ava for unrelated setbacks in her life, from personal failures to strained relationships. Friends and family have tried to reach out, urging her to seek therapy or counseling, but Christina has rebuffed every attempt, choosing instead to nurture her grievances. Her decision to sabotage a car wasn't just a momentary lapse in judgment. It was the culmination of months of unchecked rage bubbling beneath the surface. The horrifying irony is that her misdirected act of revenge nearly claimed the life of Rick, someone tied to her own family through Molly rather than Ava. This mistake has not only amplified the potential legal consequences, but also shattered any remaining illusions that Christina is in control of her actions. As whispers of her involvement in the crash begin to circulate in Port Charles, the clock is ticking toward a day of reckoning. Will the truth emerge before Alexis can intervene? And if it does, will Christina's fragile state withstand the weight of the consequences? Diane Miller, the beacon of clarity. Amid the chaos enveloping the Davis family, Diane Miller stands as a pillar of reason, offering a clear-eyed perspective on a situation clouded by emotion. As Alexis's trusted friend and legal counsel, Diane has seen the commitment papers drafted before, only for Alexis to hesitate at the crucial moment, torn between maternal love and the harsh reality of Christina's condition. That hesitation led to a painful confrontation when Molly discovered the documents and brought them to Christina, igniting a firestorm of accusations and hurt feelings between the sisters and their mother. The encounter resolved nothing. If anything, it deepened the rift, leaving Christina's mental state more precarious than ever. Diane, however, refuses to let emotions derail what she believes is the only viable path forward. With an unwavering sense of duty, she has prepared a fresh set of commitment papers, approaching Alexis with renewed urgency. She argues that time is of the essence. Christina's actions have already crossed dangerous lines, and an arrest could be imminent if evidence of her involvement in the car crash surfaces. Diane emphasizes that beyond the looming threat of legal repercussions, Christina is in desperate need of psychological intervention. Her behavior isn't just a risk to others, it's a cry for help, a sign that she's lost her grip on reality. Diane warns Alexis that if she doesn't act now, the opportunity to save Christina from herself may slip through their fingers. No one else in Port Charles, Diane insists, will step in to shield Christina from the fallout of her choices, not her friends, not her siblings, and certainly not the justice system. The weight of this decision rests solely on Alexis's shoulders, and Diane's candid, no-nonsense approach is a stark reminder of the gravity of the moment. The moral and emotional crossroads. For Alexis, the decision to commit Christina is not just a legal or medical question, it's a deeply personal and moral quandary that tears at her very core. On one hand, she sees a daughter drowning in pain, someone who needs compassion and care rather than punishment. On the other, she recognizes the danger Christina poses, not only to herself but to everyone around her, as evidenced by the near-fatal crash she orchestrated. Alexis has always been a fierce protector of her children, often placing their needs above her own, but this situation tests the limits of maternal instinct. Signing those papers would mean surrendering Christina's autonomy, a betrayal in the eyes of a daughter who already feels misunderstood and betrayed by the world. Yet, refusing to act could mean watching Christina face a future in prison, stripped of any chance at redemption or healing. The emotional toll is compounded by the fractured dynamics within the family. Molly's anger over the initial discovery of the papers, Christina's defiant rejection of help, and Alexis's own guilt over whether she failed to see the warning signs sooner. As she wrestles with Diane's plea, Alexis must also contend with the whispers of Port Charles society, where rumors about Christina's erratic behavior are beginning to spread. The pressure is mounting from all sides, and Alexis finds herself at a crossroads where every path seems fraught with heartbreak. What lies ahead? As the tension builds in this gripping storyline, viewers are left on the edge of their seats, wondering what fate awaits Christina Corinthos. Will Alexis muster the courage to sign the commitment papers, prioritizing her daughter's long-term well-being over the immediate pain of such a decision? Or will she hold out hope that Christina can find her way back on her own, risking a legal catastrophe in the process? There's also the looming specter of the truth about the brake tampering coming to light. Will investigators in Port Charles uncover Christina's role in the crash before her family can intervene? And if they do, how will Christina react to the weight of charges and the loss of her freedom? Beyond the immediate family drama, Ava Jerome remains a wild card in this equation, her own machinations and history, with Christina adding fuel to an already volatile fire. Could her involvement push Christina further over the edge, or might it force a moment of reckoning for both women? As Diane continues to advocate for action, her voice of reason might just be the lifeline the Davis family needs, or it could be the wedge that drives them further apart. One thing is certain, the coming episodes of General Hospital promise to be an emotional roller coaster, filled with revelations, tough choices, and the enduring power of family in the face of unimaginable hardship. What do you think will happen next? Will Alexis finally take the leap to commit Christina, or will tragedy strike before she gets the chance? Next, we will uncover the tangled web of deceit surrounding Nina Reeves as her once airtight plan to sabotage Drew Kane and Willow Tate Corinthos unravels at breakneck speed. What seemed like a cunning strategy to manipulate relationships in Port Charles is now crumbling, leaving Nina vulnerable to exposure and retribution. Join us as we explore the cascading consequences of her scheme, delve into the key players involved, and speculate on the explosive fallout that awaits when the truth surfaces. A flawed scheme falling apart. Nina Reeves thought she had devised the perfect plot to drive a wedge between Drew Kane and Willow Tate Corinthos, but her carefully constructed house of cards is collapsing faster than she could have anticipated. What began as a calculated effort to undermine their bond has spiraled into a mess of betrayal and missteps, threatening to expose Nina's true motives to everyone in Port Charles. Her plan hinged on manipulating Drew's behavior to alienate Willow, painting him as unreliable and unhinged in her eyes. However, the cracks in her strategy are now glaringly apparent, and the risk of discovery looms larger with each passing day. Nina's confidence in her ability to control the narrative is crumbling as unintended players become entangled in her scheme, and whispers of her involvement begin to circulate among those closest to the drama. The stakes are sky high for Nina if Drew uncovers the full extent of her machinations. The consequences could range from public humiliation to legal repercussions. As the threads of her plot continue to fray, Nina finds herself scrambling to maintain control, but the question remains, how long can she keep her secrets buried before they bury her instead? The dangerous alliance with Portia and Brad. One of Nina's gravest errors in executing her plan was enlisting the help of Portia Robinson, a decision that introduced unforeseen vulnerabilities into her scheme. Believing Portia could be a discreet and reliable ally, Nina approached her with a request to obtain a substance that would alter Drew's behavior, making him appear erratic and unfit in Willow's eyes. Portia, in turn, sought assistance from Brad Cooper, a figure known for navigating the underbelly of Port Charles with ease. Brad managed to procure ketamine, a powerful drug that was secretly slipped into Drew's drink by Jacinda, a shadowy accomplice acting under Nina's orders. The effects were immediate and devastating. Drew's uncharacteristic antics at a public event not only embarrassed him in front of Willow, but also turned him into the laughingstock of the town, with gossip about his breakdown spreading like wildfire. While Nina had taken steps to cover her tracks regarding Jacinda's involvement, her reliance on Portia proved to be a critical misstep. Portia, under pressure from her own ambitions as co-chief of staff at General Hospital, thought she could outsmart any suspicion by using Brad as a middleman. However, this chain of accomplices has only created more opportunities for the truth to leak. The once hidden connections between these players are now dangerously close to surfacing, and the fallout promises to be catastrophic for everyone involved, especially Nina, who orchestrated it all from the shadows. Brad turns the tables. Brad Cooper, ever the opportunist, quickly realized the leverage he held once he became entangled in Nina's scheme through Portia. During a tense confrontation on the Monday, May 5th episode, Brad attempted to flip the situation to his advantage by threatening Portia with exposure. He warned her that he could take his knowledge of the ketamine procurement to the hospital board, a move that could jeopardize her prestigious position and tarnish her reputation irreparably. Portia, however, wasn't so easily intimidated. With a steely resolve, she countered Brad's threat by reminding him that it would be his word against hers. a battle he was unlikely to win given her standing and his checkered past. Undeterred, Brad decided to escalate the stakes by bypassing Portia entirely and taking his information to a more powerful player, Drew Kane himself. Sources suggest that Brad is prepared to reveal everything he knows about Portia's role in the drugging incident, potentially in exchange for a significant financial payout or other favors from Drew. This bold move shifts the dynamics of the entire situation, placing Brad in a position to ignite a firestorm that could burn through Port Charles. If Brad follows through and spills the beans, it's only a matter of time before Drew connects the dots back to Portia, and ultimately, to Nina as the mastermind behind the plot. The walls are closing in, and Brad's decision to go straight to the source could be the catalyst that brings Nina's house of lies crashing down. Drew sits potential retribution. Once Drew learns the shocking truth from Brad, the repercussions for Nina could be severe, though the exact nature of his response remains a tantalizing mystery. Armed with evidence of Portia's involvement, Drew is likely to confront her directly, demanding answers about how far this conspiracy reaches. Under pressure, Portia may have no choice but to reveal Nina as the orchestrator, exposing the full extent of the scheme to sabotage his relationship with Willow. At this crossroads, Drew faces a choice: take the legal route by reporting Nina to the authorities, potentially leading to criminal charges for drugging and endangerment, or opt for a more personal form of justice by using the information as leverage against her. Speculation among Port Charles insiders suggests that Drew might lean toward the latter, seeing an opportunity to keep Nina under his control. By holding this damning secret over her head, Drew could manipulate Nina into aiding him in repairing his bond with Willow, turning her own weapon of deceit back on her. This approach would not only spare Nina the immediate threat of jail time, but also deliver a more satisfying blow to her pride, knowing she's been outmaneuvered at her own game. Drew is well aware that outsmarting Nina and forcing her to play by his rules would sting far more than any public scandal. Additionally, he might relish the chance to rebuild his image in Willow's eyes with Nina's reluctant assistance, all while keeping her on a tight leash. The power dynamics in this unfolding drama are shifting rapidly, and Drew's next move could redefine his relationships with both Willow and Nina in ways no one saw coming. The future of Nina Sip's gambit. As Nina's carefully laid plan disintegrates, the residents of Port Charles and viewers at home are left wondering what fate awaits her when the dust settles. Will Drew choose to blackmail Nina, using Brad's revelations to bend her to his will and secure her help in winning back Willow's trust? Or will he take a harsher path, turning over evidence to the police and watching as Nina faces the full weight of the law for her dangerous actions? There's also the possibility that Nina, ever the survivor, might attempt to spin the narrative in her favor, crafting a web of excuses or counter-accusations to deflect blame. Her history of resilience suggests she won't go down without a fight, but with so many players now privy to pieces of the truth, her ability to manipulate the outcome is slipping. Beyond Drew's reaction, Willow's role in this drama cannot be overlooked. How will she respond when she learns the bizarre behavior she witnessed in Drew was orchestrated by Nina, someone with a complicated history in her life? The emotional fallout for Willow could add another layer of complexity to an already fraught situation. As the secrets unravel in the coming episodes of General Hospital, one thing is certain: Nina's gamble has backfired spectacularly, and the price of her ambition may be steeper than she ever imagined. What do you think Drew will do with the information Brad provides? Will he seek revenge through blackmail or push for legal consequences? Share your predictions in the comments below, and stay tuned to ABC General Hospital spoilers for all the latest updates on this electrifying storyline.